Two rejected votes. Used seals. We have 4. So we are going to valid votes. Valid votes we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We have 6 rolls. So we'll proceed to as pattern. We just so it's very hard to know, huh?
So please note what is happening here. These rolls, because they are all together, they have to open and then check each roll.
Yeah.
So we noted that they were not in the seals, in the polythene.
Sorry. We just count. Oh, okay. So just say batch 1. We open them. It's good.
Yes. Yeah.
So we open all. Let's open all. Just 1 minute. Pick one.
1. I think deal with that, isn't it? Yeah.
Just open one.
So Honorable Were, what you have, just tell us they are in respect to who, in favor of who?
This one is in respect to William Samoei Ruto.
You have confirmed?
Yes.
Yeah, ziweke hizo. So you are holding those ones?
William Samoei Ruto. So that's the second batch.
Give them to Were.
This is for Raila Odinga.
Okay, give them to, you receive them.
This is William Samoei Ruto. Raila Odinga.
So you have them?
Raila Odinga.
Raila is here, yeah.
We have George Wajakoya.
Weka katikati.
Okay. You know, say,
So let's start with the one.
This one?
Yeah.
This one, yeah.
No, it's okay. Just tell us if it's we have confirmed. We can start counting those ones. Please count.
You pick on the thing. You pick on the thing.
Yeah.
Okay. We are counting Wajakoya. We are counting George Wajakoya. One. No, it's not one. 2, George Wajakoya. 3, 4. George Wajakoya, total 4. So kuje mdu. Oh, sorry.
here for David. David. Yes, announce it to Malaya Nine.
Okay. For David Wahiga, we just have the tallying sheet, so there is no ballot cast on his favor.
Okay, so let's start. Yeah.
Okay. We're starting with the batch for William Samoei Ruto. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32, 33, 34, 35, 36, 37, 38, 39, 40, 41, 42, 43, 44, 45, 46, 47, 48, 49, 50. Those are 50.
All right, we interrupt that scrutiny and retallying of ballot papers from 15 polling stations at Forodha House and take you now to the Supreme Court. They were on a brief health break and returning now. We can see the 7-judge bench making their way up to the podium. As mentioned by the Chief Justice, Martha Koome, they seek to take another hour, 30 minutes to conclude today's proceedings and other matters that may arise from the submissions that will be made within this next hour. That includes questions from the 7-judge bench as well. So let us now listen in to the proceedings as they reconvene.
Yes, good evening. Just before you take the podium, I think we needed to clarify something arising from the scrutiny. Justice Renaura will do so.
The Chief Justice, Counsel, the two processes are going on well, both at Forodha House and at IBC. Whatever issues are being raised by parties are being addressed by the two teams. I suggest we let them proceed, and then again we can revisit any arising issues tomorrow morning. But so far, both our teams are saying the process is ongoing. We should not trouble ourselves for now. Thank you very much, CJ. Thank you, Counsel.
Yes. Okay.
Chief Justice, Deputy Chief Justice, Your Ladyship, my Lords, Justices of the Supreme Court, my address will be followed by Apollo Boya, who acts for Cherera, the Vice Chair, followed by Jotham Arua, who acts for Commissioner Justice Nyangaya. He'll be followed by Jeremy Jenga, who acts for Commissioner Francis Wanderi, followed by Gordon Ogola, who acts for Commissioner Irene Marsit, and then finally Mansu Issa, who will address the court on behalf of the 4 commissioners collectively, as I will be addressing this honorable court on behalf of the 4 commissioners collectively.
So are we giving each one of you 10 minutes? Or within the 1 hour? So we put there 1 hour?
Yes, we'll distribute amongst ourselves, yes. We hope to do it within that 1 hour. Your Lordship, my lords, the first submission, fundamental submission I'd like to make is that when this honorable court retires to consider the judgment it will deliver, this court be guided by the fact that it is the position taken in this court by the 4 commissioners, being a majority of the IEBC, that should inform this court's decision, not the views of the minority. The official position of the Commission is as per the views and affidavits of a majority of the commissioners. And that has to be so in law, the reason being that under the Constitution, and in fact under the statute, the IEBC is a corporate entity. Therefore, in the absence of consensus, its decisions as an institution are by the majority. So do not depart from that principle, a principle that has found judicial anchorage and recognition in a number of decisions cited by my colleague Paul Mwangi, the minor KI decision, the Michael Kamau case, and the other decisions. Corporate decision, and that position has been addressed, and I do not want to take the time of the court by going through it again. With regard to each one of these 4 commissioners, I ask this honorable court to bear in mind that each one of them went through a very rigorous vetting by the National Assembly, at which there was full public participation before they got appointed, so that anyone who had any issue with any of them, that was the time to raise the issues. Again, the law is clear about how one can complain about a commissioner enjoying constitutional security of tenure. So do not be influenced with innuendos and insinuations about these 4 commissioners. They were vetted by the people's elected representatives. Now, coming specifically, this is the second fundamental submission I'd like to make. This so-called walking out from Bomas. Look at the affidavits of the 4 commissioners. The vice chair saw 2 affidavits, so there are 5 affidavits in total. And I invite this honorable court, when it retires, to read through those affidavits in their entirety. We adopt them. We rely wholly on the averment in those affidavits. And you will find in those affidavits that all that these 4 commissioners were demanding of the chair at Bomas at the tail end of the tallying and the verification. Their narrative, which I invite this court to accept, is that they were not involved in the tallying and verification, and in particular regarding the 27 constituencies. So they were demanding of their chair, you cannot bring a paper here and tell us that these have been verified and tallied by the chief executive. The work of the chief executive is to implement decisions of the commission. He is not part of the commission, any more than the registrar, the chief registrar, implements, or any registrar of the High Court, implements the decision of the judges, not the other way around. So they were saying, we need to tally and verify the results in respect of these 27 constituencies. And the chair would not allow that, which was typical of the relationship between the chair and these 4 commissioners. And a twist is being given that it is these 4 commissioners that wanted to force a runoff. It is the exact opposite, Your Ladyship and my lords, and that is what we state in the affidavits. It is them who were asking, how do we confirm that the candidate you are about to announce has received 50 plus 1 votes? And his response was, are you trying to force a runoff? I am not conducting another election. So this acrimonious relationship is what was there between the chair and his 2 allied commissioners and the other 4 commissioners. Now, I would like to submit that the 4 commissioners were fully justified in saying we cannot own results we have not tallied and we have not verified. The law has been referred to this honorable court severally that it is the commission that should do the verification and the tally. This legal notice that appointed the chair as the returning officer, you've been invited to hold that legal notice, that regulation is unconstitutional and valid because it contradicts the Constitution and the Elections Act. But beyond that, it is the chair himself alone who appointed himself as the returning officer for the presidential elections. You will not find any minutes of any meeting by the commission appointing the returning officer. So quite apart from the fact that it was unconstitutional, it did not have the authority of the commission. I would like to cede ground to my colleague Apollo so that we operate within the 60 minutes accorded to us. I ask that this court uphold the position of the 4 commissioners, that the results that were announced were not the results tallied and verified by the commission. I thank you.
The Chief Justice and members of the court, without wasting more time, I'll pick it up from where the senior counsel has left. My name is Apollo Mboya. I am on record for the fifth respondent. Your Ladyship and my lords, the actions of the chairman of the Electoral Commission can be evaluated using several instruments. And I believe the first instrument that we need to use in examining the whole issues that are before this court is the oath that the commissioners take. The oath is in the 3rd schedule of the IEBC Act, so that for every action, we juxtapose that oath to those actions. so that we test if the actions meets the tenets of that oath. And permit me to read what that oath says, and it's taken by all the commissioners. It states, I, then they say their name, having been appointed chairperson or member, as it can be, of the Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission, do solemnly swear that I will at all times obey, respect, and uphold the Constitution of Kenya and all other laws of the Republic of Kenya. That is the oath they take. That I will faithfully and fully, impartially, and to the best of my ability discharge that trust and perform the functions and exercise the powers devolving upon me by virtue of the appointment without fear, favor, bias, affection, ill will, or prejudice. That is the promise that they are giving to the people of Kenya and to the whole world. Now, for every action that the chairman did, which I'll not go into because this particular affidavit of the fifth respondent has been cross-referenced by my other senior counsel and also learned colleagues who spoke before me. We juxtapose those actions against that oath that they took. So, for example, if we are talking about issuing a gazette notice, you look at that gazette notice with the law, then juxtapose it to the oath, if it meets that promise that they gave. Your Ladyship and my Lords, the fifth respondent is now affectionately called opaque. Affectionately. I say that because arising out of what transpired at the National Tallying Center, the four issued a statement in which they said they cannot own the results that were going to be announced by the chairman, and therefore they were opaque. Your Ladyship and my Lords, that term opaque is not coming from the ordinary. It's a term that was given by the Court of Appeal when they were making a decision in another matter, which is now famous here, called the Maina Kiai matter, which when they were looking at the role of the chairman vis-a-vis the other commissioners. And the court did indicate that to suggest that one individual alone can tally and verify the votes for presidential election is to suggest otherwise, to introduce opaqueness and arbitrariness to the electoral process. Those were the words of that court. Members of the court, we might ask if the chairman has indicated from the affidavits that we have had that it was his responsibility alone to tally and verify the results. Then the question is, what were the other commissioners supposed to be doing on that election day? Were they supposed to sit at home and watch the screens just like any other Kenyans? But then again, the chairman went ahead and allocated them duties. With respect to the fifth respondent was given the role of media. In that role, the fifth respondent was supposed to explain even to the media why what they were reading, the results they were reading, are not being projected on the screens. The results that they read were not projected from Friday 13th. And when that question was put to the chairman to refresh, the chairman said, no, I'm tallying from the back end. Your Ladyship and my Lords, the sum total of this whole transaction is that the chairman usurped the powers of the commission. And it's our submission that after all is said and done, and after we get the reports of the verification, I believe that this court will arrive at a conclusion that the chairman of the Electoral Commission was actually an agent of a presidential candidate. That presidential candidate we will know by 5th of September. And if that's going to be the case, lastly, it's our submission that this court must go further and look at the theory of agency. All the conspirators that did any illegalities, all irregularities, are agents of one another. The person who benefited from those irregularities and illegalities is a co-conspirator with the persons who perpetrated it, and they are agents of one another. And for that reason, we would urge that this court makes appropriate decision with that particular issue in mind. I call upon my learned colleague, Jotham Marua, to take over from me.